Bike weight is a sensitive topic, so sensitive that once I announced a poll in the post on YouTube got more than 100 votes, not something which happened in the past. For that reason, we will wait how much the bike will weigh for XCO Champ. It's a bit different setup because we have 2.4 tires, and also I made some upgrades, so it will vary a bit and I will do full spec video at some point in the future, but let's just figure out what weight it's going to be. 10, 95, 96, almost 11 kilograms. Let's add the Garmin, the Powerbank, which I'm going to use in the UCI regulated race on the bike, and we got more than 11 kilograms. Is it much? Let me know in the comments. Apart from the weighting, I will also cover how I managed to record in UCI regulated race unlimited amount of duration, and that comes to the topic of Powerbank. You already know, if you watched other videos on my channel, that during casual races I just use chesty. Inside the chesty there is a Powerbank. I have in-depth video about that, and I will leave a link in the description. But for UCI regulated races I use mount at the front, so it's a bit different and it requires a bit more extra preparation before the race, so we will see how it looks like as well. As you probably know, if not yet, in UCI regulated races it's not always allowed to go with the chesties. Actually, it depends on the organizer and referee of the race. Sometimes they allow to do so, other times they don't. Usually in terms and conditions it's written that you should discuss the use of the camera with organizer's referee, but basically in order to overcome this and to make sure that I record full duration of the race, I use Powerbanks, and because most often I no longer can use chesties, I had to find some other solution to record unlimited amount of time. So for that reason, out of my magic pockets, I will show you some things, and we will start with the Powerbank. I use 5000 mAh Powerbank. It's pretty neat, not a big one. You can see that on 10 centimeter stem. It's not too big, and I added a double-sided tape here just to make sure that it has some padding. Simply said, I apply that Powerbank here, and because the camera will be hanging under the Garmin's mount, I connect the cable nearby the stem. You have the Powerbank, you have the cable. You make sure that the cable goes in, because if you put the Powerbank too close to the headset, then the cable will be bent. So that's just an extra precaution. So it's important to note that you should firstly check whether your cable is actually working with the Gopro. So sometimes not all the cables charges Gopro. So just to be sure, you need to find the cable which has USB-C. It's charging, so this cable will be just fine. So the cable is inside, and we set the distance that it won't be too far away. Once you do that, we will use just black electric tape. Firstly, making sure that it attaches to the bike. It looks like some carbon imitation on the body of the Powerbank, so it's nice. You can judge my approach, you can say that it's useless, but well, because videos is my thing, I will rather go with a bit heavier bike and maybe not that neatly looking, instead of not having the video after the race. So you can see, based on that there are some sacrifices involved. It's not always that easy to make those videos. I'm not complaining, I'm kind of loving it at some degree, but sometimes it's a bit tedious. It's a setup which you have to prepare every single time, just making sure to stick that Powerbank to the frame in order for it not to move, etc. No one forced me to do this, it's all on my own. Usually I use as much electric tape as needed in order to make sure that everything stays in place and doesn't move at all, because any movement will result into additional stress to the cable too. I don't want that to happen. As less stress as possible to the actual setup. So the power bank is connected. What remains is to make sure to do something with the camera. We have the camera, and it's worth mentioning that the camera is with open doors, so that way I can make sure that the cable charges the battery inside. And the reason why I use the battery inside as well as the power bank, just to make sure that the duration stays for longer periods, even though XCO race will be around 2 hours. If it's rainy and poor conditions, probably 2 and a bit more can be extended, but in general it should be enough. Now, the reason why I use additional elements here, when camera is placed on the mount, it kind of distracted by the cable. So in order to prevent that, I'm using few additional angles. Actually, recently I made some cable changes. The brake one will be a bit distractive, but we will see how to deal with it. So we're adding this additional thing in order to have that extra angle control. Technically, you could make it work without these additional extenders, but I just like the way it looks like once they are applied, and also having that additional angle control is also good. Cables here are everywhere. Don't forget that you will also have to somehow incorporate one additional thing into this equation, which is the bib number. So it's also a bit of a headache because you have to apply it without actually obscuring the camera, and at the same time the bib number should be clearly visible. So that's how it goes. Once you install everything, you should also check how the camera is showcasing the view, so that way you can make sure that once, for example, here the suspension works, it doesn't touch it too much. And also we can use zip ties to just eliminate that issue as well. And in order to make sure that the angle is good, just make sure that in the camera you can see a bit of the front tire, because otherwise the view is poor. Here we have it, how to make it work with the power bank setup on the bike, and then you just connect the cable and record the races. As mentioned, don't forget that you will also have to incorporate the number somewhere, and usually I just try to add it somewhere underneath. It's a bit tricky, depends on the number size, and that's how it goes. As I already had that issue, make sure that cables doesn't touch the camera anywhere, otherwise you are going to regret it, because somewhere on the screen there is already a scratch because of that. If you are interested how to make chesty power bank setup, there's a video in my channel about it as well. So it's a power bank added in the back pocket of the chesty mount with a bit bigger cut hole inside. Power bank inserted, went through those holes, and additional bandage to make sure everything fits. That's how it goes. I can see that there is still a bit of movement on the actual power bank, and because I'm going to race in XCO, it will be bumpy over the roots, etc. So I will just add additional few lines of tape to make sure that it just holds. And also, remaining thing is that once you connect the cable, make sure that somehow it's not moving, so just use a bit more tape to fit it into place. In other words, tape saves everything. If you are interested about other steps, check videos in my channel and you'll find out a bit more stuff about me racing and recording. Cheers, and until next time.